Hey there, guys. Welcome back to another video. And I was reading in my Bible today, and actually I was reading last night. I started reading in Romans, and I just got so excited. I was just like, wow, I haven't read this book like this before. It was just I've read through Romans like a million times in the past, but this is the first time that I was reading through Romans where it was actually like, wow, this is actually making sense in a different way. I know last semester I was reading a lot in Galatians where it's talking about faith and works and all that stuff. And Romans is kind of like just another version of that. It's kind of like James in the sense faith without works is dead, talking a lot about that. But anyway, I was reading in Romans, and I was reading from chapter 3 to chapter 4 today, and it just kind of like, woo, it was awesome. It got me all kind of excited, so I thought I'd make a little video on it. It was talking a lot about righteousness, like what is righteousness, and I wrote notes here. Let me see. In chapter 3, verse 9, it talks about how nobody's righteous. Nobody is perfect. It talks about the people who've turned away from God. It talks about throats being open graves and bitterness and blah blah blah. It talks about all this stuff, but then Paul goes on to say that righteousness is through faith, and it's not through works. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But over here, and let's see where it was. Basically, observing the law is nothing. He was talking a lot about that. We can know what the law says, and we can know what's right, and we can know what's wrong, but we aren't saved through the law. We're saved through faith. And Paul was using Abraham as an example because Abraham, he had all the right works, and he had faith. He was considered a righteous guy, but he was going on to say, look, it wasn't his works that made him righteous. It wasn't the good things that he did that made him righteous. It was his faith. It was his faith in God. And I think he was using that as a contrast because a lot of people can see their Christianity as being righteous. They see themselves as being righteous like Abraham. But what they don't understand is, or they don't think about, is Abraham had two things. He didn't just have faith and works. He had both of them. And I think a lot of times we forget about the faith and we stay so focused on the works because works are visible. They're physical. You can see them. Whether you're going to church or whether you're in a ministry or even if you're just out at working at Pizza Hut, your works are visible. But God was saying, no, it's not your works, and it's not how you understand the Bible. It's like you can read this entire Bible like front to back and be able to and quote it, but if you don't have faith in God, it's just meaningless. And what Paul was going on to say was Abraham was justified. This is in chapter 4, verse 2. He was saying Abraham was justified. No. If, in fact, Abraham was justified by works, he had something to boast about, but not before God. And that kind of like hit me upside the head. I was like, whoa, that was kind of cool. It's like we always think that in Christianity, if we're doing all the right things, and I know I think about it the same way. It's like when I do something good, I'm like, I hope that pleases God. It's like this is almost saying maybe I'm wrong, but sounds to me like this is saying, no, God really don't care. He doesn't care if you're obeying his. I mean, he does care because he commands it to us to, but that's not what he's considering our righteousness. That's not where he's pulling our righteousness from. That's not what determines our righteousness, is what I'm trying to say. And it goes on to say in verse 3 of chapter 4, what does the scripture say? Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. Now, when a man works, his wages are not credited to him as a gift, but as an obligation. And he was using the example of working and getting wages. We work at Pizza Hut, make pizzas, we make money. He was making the distinction of when you work for God, we're not getting those wages. He said it's not a wage, it's not a gift, it's an obligation. And that is so cool. And I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit because I know I read a lot of Galatians, and when I read Galatians, it kind of turned my table upside down because it was like Galatians is talking about you're not saved by works, you're saved by faith, and that is it. It's a lot like what Romans is. And it kind of made me wonder. I was like, and I'm sure it's made a lot of other people wonder too, is, oh, so works don't matter. Works, I can just sin all I want and nothing really matters because I have faith in God. And a lot of people, they go off and go and do their own thing, And they use the excuse, well, I have faith in God. I believe there's a God, and I believe it's God. I believe it's Jesus of the Bible. I believe in the Bible. I go to church. I'm good. No. And so this got me kind of excited because it was saying your works and your wages, they're not credited to you as a gift. They're an obligation. Meaning, obligation in Christianity, you got to have it. I mean, it's you're obligated to. And what was it? In James, you read in James, faith without works is dead. So basically, you know, Galatians is like works without faith is dead. James is faith without works is dead. So basically, you better have both of them in key. Otherwise, you're not really doing too good. And that's a lot of what Paul was talking about here in Romans. It seemed like I wanted to talk about something else too. No, I think I got it. So basically, faith is righteousness. And so I kind of wanted to share a little bit too. I think in a lot of Christianity nowadays is if we think that we're doing everything right, are we really? And I think that's where humility starts playing a key. I know back in my earlier Christianity, you know, I'm still a young guy, I'm still learning a whole lot, but in my very new beginnings of Christianity, I used to think, you know, I'm a pretty good guy. You know, I got all the right works going, I'm reading my Bible, I'm forcing myself to read the Bible every day, and I work at Christian summer camps, I do everything, and basically what Paul is saying in here is, yeah, it's good stuff, but you can't boast about all that towards God. You can boast about that towards people, so people can see that. But is that the only thing you have? And that's something that I think this is where it hits home, because a lot of people don't like Christians, and I don't think it has everything to do with the fact that they want to live life their own way, and Christians say, well, you have to do this and this and this. I think it's more of Christians are kind of snobby. And you know, be a living example and show people what Christianity is. But those substances are not works. Don't boast that towards God. Those things are not in works. That is shown in love. And you read that in Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 through 40. I think that's what it was. And I think it all has to do with humility. And I used to think, when I'd see somebody walking down the road with a beer and they were half tipsy, you could tell that they were just half out of it, smoking pot, smoking a cigarette, and, you know, heading to somebody's house to have sex or something like that. You know, when you see these people, you thought, oh, what a sinner. No, really, they're just as sinful as you are. And it says that in here, nobody is righteous. In Romans it says nobody is righteous, and everybody has sinned. And that righteousness is only proven by faith, not by observing other people's error, not by making sure your works are in check, but in having faith. And you know, you go and look, and I found it on Bible Gateway, Luke chapter 8, verse 9 through 14. It says, to some who are confident, it's talking about the priest and the sinner who are praying towards God. It says, to some who are confident of their own righteousness, basically by works, not by faith. Some are confident by their own works. It says, and look down on everyone else. Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one Pharisee and the other was a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, God, thank you, I am not like that other man, or other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this here tax collector. And I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get. And that's kind of like what I was doing back in the past. You know, I made sure I read the Bible. I made sure I had all the right works. I made sure I wasn't getting drunk every night and all that jazz. And then it goes on in verse 13. It says, but the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And that's where humility comes in. It's not about boasting to the crowd like, look at me, I've got all the right works, I'm so righteous. No, it's about humility. It's about humility. And I made a video on humility, and I'll probably go ahead and tag this. So after you're done watching this and you had interest, go ahead and watch my video on humility. It's kind of funny, actually. But anyway, I did that last semester. And it goes on, sorry I didn't finish the verse. On verse 14 it says, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, the priest, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And I like where it says that, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. And just like Paul was saying here in Romans, now when a man works, his wages are not credited to him as a gift, but as an obligation. However, to the man who does not work, but trusts in God, wait, I read the wrong part. Okay, verse 2 of chapter 4 says, if in fact Abraham was justified by works, he had something to boast about, but not before God. And so that's really cool because, I mean, works aren't important. Works aren't important before God. They're an obligation. And I think God is probably looking down on us like, why are all these freaks like so focused on the works? It's like, yeah, it's important. I told them to do it, but it's like they're making that their idol and their God. It's where I just want them to believe in me. What's wrong with these people? And so anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. This really interested me, fascinated me, got me all hyped up. And so I'll go ahead and stop the video because I've been talking for a long time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll go ahead and post my humility video because it kind of plays in a part. And I might even provide a link right here, right there. Whoop, or like maybe like right there. Maybe I'll do it right. I can't do this. It's weird. Right there. I'll put a link right there for the humility video. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Thanks.